Welcome to an amazing episode of The Barbershop. I have with me today Suhasini, the founder of Yoga Bar. Welcome to The Barbershop.
Kind of you, Shantanu, to have me. You should be able to recreate the product in your kitchen. The only reason you're buying it from me is because of my scale. People, when they go and ask for an energy bar, they say, can I have a yoga bar even if it's another brand?
Found out the two largest brands of chocolate in India don't have any milk in it.
Yes. In FMCG, Shantanu, the worst thing you can actually pick is food. Having a standalone D2C store for food is a VC's hallucination.
I'm envious of Varun. I sit back and I think that what he was telling was probably right.
I lost track of time, days, Sundays, Saturdays. 3 people wanted to buy out the brand. It hadn't even crossed our mind. And then we said, maybe we should start thinking in that direction. I don't want to go through life living a very unidimensional life. I think that's important.
Welcome to an amazing episode of The Barbershop. I have a founder who I have watched from close distance because we had common investors. We used to meet often. We started around a similar time in the consumer space, but she and her sister and the entire team have built out an incredible brand and taken it from idea to business to selling it and now scaling it with a strategic partner, which is one of the largest consumer businesses in India. I have with me today Suhasini, the founder of Yoga Bar. Suhasini, welcome to The Barbershop. Thank you so much for coming.
It's nice. It's so nice to be here, actually. Thank you.
No, thank you for taking the time. So so Barbershop started as so you would relate to this fully. We had a marketing meeting where people realize that shaving and trimmers and all are very boring categories, right? They're not fun categories. You can't do a lot of fun with it, right? So how do we make it more engaging? What's the problem statement from the marketing team? So we said, what are the assets we have? So we have these products, we have a studio, all of that. And one person said there is Shantanu's LinkedIn page where he does this controversial posts also on entrepreneurship. Can we make it bigger? So we said, okay, fine. How do I convert an entrepreneurship conversation, which I have very organically, into something bigger? So someone said, let's start a podcast. So we said, okay, cool. So we'll call it The Barbershop because it's Bombay Shaving Company. And then we said, okay, let's bring amazing entrepreneurs and talk to them about their life journey and let's see where that goes because there's engagement on the LinkedIn profile. Let's see if there's engagement elsewhere. And now this has become like a really, really cool place. And our purpose with The Barbershop, Suhasini, is that we bring in founders such as yourself. Try to distill the learnings over years into like a couple of hours of conversation. And hopefully when our listeners who are very hungry for inspiration, who are very ambitious, but young, right? So haven't seen the world as much, or maybe are in a city where access to other people or mentors is not very high. For them, a conversation like this hopefully tips them over the edge and they get the confidence or they get the final push to do something. And we believe that The Barbershop is now doing something way bigger than what just Bombay Shaving Company, which is, we have almost 1.5 million watch hours. More than 1 million people who are completely engaged on the platform.
No, I mean, when I was telling somebody I was coming to Delhi to do this, they're like, we watch every single episode.
Really?
Yeah, a good friend from Blinkit actually.
Okay.
Literally, like I watch every single episode. I'm like, and he's just like, maybe it'll make me convert and be an entrepreneur someday. So I was just like,
that's amazing. Yeah. We had Albi from Blinkit here as well.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic episode. But thank you so much. And first of all, congratulations on building Yoga Bar and continuing to build Yoga Bar to both you and Anandita and the entire team. But I would love to know how it all started. Like, what were you guys doing?
Yeah.
Because this is for me, if I have a Bombay Shaving Company, it was a 2-year idea that was just in gestation for 2 years before I actually actioned it. What was it for you guys?
So, Shantanu, I don't come from a business family at all, right? Like, so business is the last thing. Like, it's very common for Tamrams to do multiple PhDs. It's not so common to do business at all.
Yeah.
So I was exchanging at Wharton and I lived with Anandita and both of us used to go for the yoga class. We used to go to the Bikram yoga class.
Okay.
And the minute we used to finish that class, both of us used to go and get a bar. And
Sorry, what were you studying together or what?
No, Anandita was in the M&A team with EY.
Okay.
And I was, of course, exchanging. I was at LBS and I was exchanging at Wharton.
Okay.
And I used to take the Bolt bus to go to Philly. So I used to live with her in New York and I used to just take the Bolt and go to Philly.
Okay.
3 days a week or whatever, right? So the days when I used to go for the yoga class, we used to do the Bikram yoga class. We used to come out, we used to go get something to eat. And then we saw this Kind Bar thing, and I was just like, and we read up about it, and we're like, it's $1 billion company. We're like, there's just nothing healthy to eat in India. And she's like, if I had something like this, I would just call it Yoga Bar. I'm like, let's trademark it. Whether or not we create a company, let's trademark it. At some point of time, we'll sell this trademark and make money.
And which year was this?
2012.
Okay.
And then we formally started in 2015. But
there was a...
No, I mean, so I came back to India first. I was doing this financial outsourcing company that also grew quite large. So they're like 100 people or whatever. And we did the financial outsourcing for like literally all the startups in Bangalore. So we knew everybody, right? Like right from the Urban Ladders and Zivames and Muskalandar and everybody. We used to do their accounting for them. And during this time period, I also met Kanwal because one of his investee companies I used to sit on the board of from a finance standpoint. And I was talking to him and I caught him outside class and I said, listen, Kanwal, this is what I've done. I've kind of like trademarked this and I think it's a really exciting idea. And he's like, if you need some money, no questions, I'll just take some money, go ahead and do whatever you want to do. If you make a company out of it, give me shares. So I'm like, fair enough. There's nothing. Yeah, literally.
That is so cool.
Kanwal's known to like, do that little nudge that makes people, tip over. And and after that point in time, Anandita used to kind of like do some recipes.
Who's the older between you and her?
I'm not answering that question.
No.
She's old.
You're the youngest son?
Yeah. I'm the youngest of the three of us.
Okay.
So I borrowed some money from the eldest one and then put in some of whatever Kanwal offered to give us. And then she used to, work some recipes at her house in New York, send it to me. And I worked with almost like, I think, 150 bakers in the city to kind of help.
So you started it in Bangalore on your own.
Literally.
And then Anandita was in New York at the time.
Yeah. And then for Fin Advantage was the name of the company that I started. For Diwali, we decided to give out these yoga bars as healthy sweets. And everybody came back asking for more. I'm like, I think this idea is going to work. And then after that point, I did one more test and I took it to a couple of yoga studios in Bangalore. And everyone was like, and the owner of the yoga studios, it was called 1000 Yoga and they had 12 studios. He's like, I want this in all the yoga studios. So I'm just like, maybe it's time that, India's going to start thinking about eating healthy. So we're talking way back in 2014 when people used to still say that India mein taste hi bikta hai, health kahan bikta hai kind of thing. So we were the first completely natural, very clean ingredients, made from a kitchen, like the way you would make for your family. It's really how we started.
Wow. And so talk me through a little bit of that journey, right? So you were with bakers and like, how do you get the final ingredient right? How did you get the final...
I think it was a lot of trial and error, Shantanu. We definitely knew what we wanted to put in and what we wanted to keep out.
Okay.
And at that point in time, we know that India is like there's also this thing, right? Like what really motivates people. And we wanted to use indigenous grains. So we used a lot of the amaranth at that point of time. We used the millets. We used ragi. We used all of that.
Amaranth is Rajgira, right?
Rajgira.
Okay.
Yeah. And we used a lot of the ancient grains and millets and all of that. And we kind of sweetened it with dates. We kind of, put in a lot of seeds and nuts and all of that. And we knew the ingredients that we would keep in and the ingredients that we would keep out. And
what did you keep out, for example?
No preservatives, no colors, no artificials, no compound chocolate, no E-numbers, no any of that. So literally the cleanest product that you can make in your kitchen. You should be able to recreate the product in your kitchen. The only reason you're buying it from me is because of my scale. I'll be able to give it to you much cheaper than you would be able to make it yourself.
Correct.
So that was, and I'm a discerning customer. Like I've historically always, if you can sell something to me, you probably have a really good product because I don't buy much. Like I'm just somebody who buys exactly what I need. So it has to seem valuable even for me as a consumer. And that's how I would think about consumers. Like, would they pay this kind of money to buy this product? So it has to make sense. So it has to be healthy, it has to be tasty, it has to be affordable.
Okay.
So all of that. So it's a lot of iterations. Like.
Okay, so what are the products that you gave to on Diwali or into your...
Most of our date-based and millet-based bars. So we would just clean wrap it, make the bars in our oven. My mother would sit with me at night, clean wrap the whole thing. Then we had these, gold boxes that used to come ready-made, pack it in boxes of 10 and just give it out as Diwali.
But no branding and all.
Nothing. Yeah, and we put one yoga bar sticker. There was like a yoga pose sticker and we would just do that. Just put the sticker right on top with the label and that's how we would do it.
Wow. And then... So then, And this is very interesting, right? Because I can draw a lot of parallels with what we did as well. And then when did it formally start? Like when did you say, I'm not going to do FinAdvantage? What happened to FinAdvantage? Does that
Still exists. Still exists, still a shareholder.
Okay.
Done well. I mean, I think now it's about 200, 250 people.
Okay. And being run by a CEO and all of that.
No. So it was 4 of us from KPMG who actually started it. So the other partners continue to run it.
Okay. And then how did you decide that, okay, I'm now going to leave FinAdvantage and do this full time? And when did Anandita join?
Yeah. So it was at the time where Kanwal commented, he got 3 friends together, and then that quantum of money went from 15 lakhs to 75 lakhs. It became a very meaningful amount of money. And then I said, listen, I think maybe you should come back to India. And then Anandita also came back in 2015.
Okay.
You know. And then when Kanwal had already got his set of friends who also were really excited about the idea, I think the more people read about Kind Bars, they were like, Yoga Bars is an even better kind of brand name. So let's see where these guys... I think for Kanwal, the interest was not so much healthy food as much as what can you do with a brand like this, you know. I think it was the Unilever marketer in him that said that there's lots that can be achieved out of yoga. So,
but why Yoga Bar? Because you guys are doing yoga? Because you want a health halo around it?
Health, well, at the same time, not preaching health, you know. Like for me, and people often ask me this, and I say, you know, when I put a Yoga Bar product in front of you, what do you feel? And most people say that it makes me happy. Okay. So for me, yoga is about being a better version of yourself every day. And that's how I look at it. Like, every day, what can I do to make myself a little happier? What can I do? Like, I think the whole spectrum of possibilities of tomorrow, like, I love it. Like, I just love the fact that tomorrow can be very different from today, and tomorrow can be so influenced by the choices that you make today. And we bring that out in our packaging. Like, if you'll see, like, a lot of the yoga stuff on our packaging would be like, the most beautiful thing that you see today will be in the mirror. Or it'll say something like, the only hero that you need is yourself, or stuff like that, right? Like for me, yoga was more about, for me itself personally in life, has always been about how can you be a really good version of yourself. Like, and that journey takes very, very long. It could take a lifetime, you know, but you're making progress every day. And I think, I don't know if I'm articulating it, but I think somehow, I feel like with our packaging and the vibrant colors that we have, and you know, the way we communicate about this whole positivity, I think somewhere my idea of yoga has got translated. Yeah, I think so.
Wow. Interesting. So so you register, we go in very granular details. Yeah. So you register the company, got the Yoga Bar trademark into the company.
In 2012, transferred into the company.
And then Kanwal and 2-3 friends of his came.
Yeah.
And your sister was an investor.
Yeah. And my eldest sister was an investor. And then the second one joined.
Came and joined.
Yeah.
Then how was it from day 1 to day 365?
Yeah. So I think in FMCG, Shantanu, the worst thing you can actually pick is food. And within food, the worst thing that you can pick is health.
Especially after I've started doing this Amura thing, right?
Yeah.
I have started becoming a lot more conscious about stuff that is in processed food. And some of the stuff blows me away.
Yeah, I mean, like, for instance, fruit juices aren't really fruit juices, or jams aren't really jams, or ketchup isn't really tomato, or all of that, right? Like,
I saw the other day, there's a guy on Instagram who puts up, like, here's the reality about food, and you probably know this better. He showed something about Kisan fresh tomato.
The guy who's talked about the Horlicks as well.
He's done that a bunch.
Yeah, he's done a bunch.
But some of his stuff is like, it's well researched.
Yeah.
I think it's clear. I don't think he's...
Water grad.
He's a water grad, eh?
Yeah, he's a water grad.
Oh, wow. I think he also ex-McKinsey.
You're right, yes.
So, there was one about Kisan that kind of stood out, which is their brand of ketchup. I had no idea how constant. Yeah. And then brand of ketchup is called fresh tomato.
And it doesn't have
a fresh tomato, and the justification
is first or second ingredient.
Yeah. And the justification is fresh tomato is the brand, not the claim. Yeah. It's okay if we don't have fresh tomato. And I'm like, whoa. Yeah. If that's the bar everyone has on consumer.
Yeah. But I'll tell you a corollary to that though, Shantanu. And I'll tell you this is classic India, right? By that analogy, Yoga Bar should have eaten everyone alive.
Yeah.
We should have eaten Kellogg's. We should have eaten every single competitor out there, because literally our packaging says 83 to 92% whole grain nuts and seeds. After we changed our packaging, like Kellogg's went ahead and changed their packaging. So we're literally saying 83 to 92% whole grain nuts and seeds was our muesli. We should have taken the market, but we didn't. I mean, it's still a journey for us to do it. Our chocos, Kellogg's is 60% maida. Our chocos is completely millet and dal. We've excluded millet and dal. It's a gluten-free product. But the process but spectacular products don't an FMCG company make. It's also getting the right messaging. It's also being at your job for 40 years, continuously investing marketing dollars. You can't assume that one day you'll create a product that's just so well differentiated and the next day you're going to hit 1,000 crores in revenue. It just doesn't happen.
Right.
Because with Yoga Bar, literally, and people always felt like the brand was far ahead of its sales, and they were like, we don't believe it's only doing that much. And I would be like, yes, it's an exceptional product, but you have to get so many things right to get to 1,000 crore business. It's not going to happen by just having the tastiest or the best muesli. It's just not going to happen. It's not like tomorrow you'll have the best product and you're going to take everyone else's market.
No,
It doesn't happen like that.
So coming back, you said food is the hardest category within FMCG, and within that, health is the hardest subcategory.
Absolutely. If we had put the same kind of effort, and I'm sorry, I'm not taking away your thunder, but if we had put the same amount of effort in creating a clean labeled personal care brand, we would have been far, far ahead. Simply because the gross margins are better.
Yeah.
Simply because you can get away with not making perfect products.
Yeah.
With food, our repeat rates are 70% because we've never run a marketing campaign. The strength of the company, or however we've grown, has grown purely because we made a product promise very, very early on. We were the first ones to do it. And we kind of stay within the affordability spectrum. I mean, ideally, where I would like to be is to, have 5 rupees bars or 10 rupees bars and feed India healthy, like that. And that's my objective. For me, the true happiness will come when everybody's replacing their biscuits, for instance, with a small millet bar or something like that, right? But
I think Parle-G, for example, you're right. I think that's the India we talked, right? The 5 rupee Parle-G pack is all the carbohydrates that I think an 8-year-old child needs with 2 of those packs is all the carbs and an 8-year-old child needs, right? The whole day. And you get it for $5 or $6 and then Tiger came in and so on. And of course, you can make the argument that that's all maida and sugar.
Yeah.
But you know what?
It's been a brilliant product.
For an 8-year-old in India who lives in a household where the daily income is 300 rupees.
What else can you do?
It's absolutely fine because at least covers a large part of the nutrition of that child. I mean, the energy nutrition.
Yeah, which comes back to the first question you asked me. I feel like with food, it's so hard. I don't have the heart to criticize anybody because I feel like that journey has been so difficult for everyone to make a dent. And if it's meaningful to the consumer, and if the consumer is making that choice, it's moving the categories forward.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But I genuinely think, for example, food, especially large company food brands in India, have not been have been disingenuous with information.
That I agree.
The more I see a lot of this content, the more I see, I think the balance of values and profit is not an easy balance to make.
Yeah.
And with personal care, again, I know the parallels are not apple orange, but
it doesn't cause as much damage.
It doesn't. You give me a moisturizer that's stickier than required, I'll wipe it off.
Yeah.
But you give me something to ingest on a daily basis, which you're trying to give me habit through sugar, then I don't know. For example, it's bizarre to me that ice cream is sold as frozen dessert and doesn't have dairy in it. I found this out very recently.
Oh, really?
I did not know this.
Yeah.
I would belt ice cream. I love ice cream. I love chocolates. I found out the 2 largest brands of chocolate in India don't have any milk in it.
Yes,
They're not dairy products. I just found out that India's largest pizza brand does not use cheese on its pizza. They use emulsifier or whatever. I was like, what? I love the pizza. Yeah, I would love it because it tastes great. But it has nothing. It's not like cheese plus something. It's just zero cheese.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no.
I see what you're saying. I do think that people have to be a lot more honest. Yeah. But the difficulty on this side, and having been the first truly clean ingredient and being so early in this journey, it's been
it's very hard.
Very hard. And we were the first ones.
Also, they were tempted to kind of put preservatives, increase shelf life, put sugar, increase repeat rates.
No, Shantanu, I don't know. Somehow for me, that principle that if my kid can't eat it, nobody else can eat it. And I told you this, even before, you could do a blind audit today And you will not find anything on the shelf. Like, if it's good enough for my family only, then it's good enough for you. I'm not going to feed you something that that I don't think is good enough for people at my house to eat. And that principle for me is very clear. If it's not going into her tiffin box, it can't go into anybody else's. But I like my food to make me happy. It's not like with my muesli, I'll put the mangoes, I'll put like everything, and I'll also personalize it to create. So for me, health and taste is both important. I don't want to be eating thinking that, oh my God, like food is also for me almost meditative. Like I really like eating a really nice bowl of smoothie in the morning. Yeah. I like eating my bars. I like, and So I'm not like going to be. There is going to be zero sugar products, and those days will come. But for today, I'm okay. If the sugar comes from a good source, I'm okay. We need it for energy. So like, we use jaggery, we use dates or whatever. I'm okay with that.
No, completely. I think good sugar, good fructose, the fact that you replace maida with millets, and sugar with dates and jaggery, and that you are honest about its 83 to 92%. And you say something like that, it looks authentic. There's a range here. You don't say up to 92%, because now I think consumers are able to look past brands being over smart. Right? So yoga bar for me always was, where I used to buy it the most. I used to buy it at the Delhi street at T3. The Delhi street shop at T3.
You mean Relay? Yeah, must be.
Is it Relay?
Yeah, the Relay stores.
T3 pe, when you are going past that, and then the gates ka doors come, like yahan se 37 onwards and all. There's that place where you would get a book, a bottle of water. And the food court is upar, which I never wanted to go to. Because it's like I have to climb the escalator.
Yeah, I would do the same. Like even for me, like every time I'm traveling, today I'm traveling, there'll be 3 bars. And I'm okay with that, Like I know that I'm not getting the vegetables, but it's fine. Like I'll compensate for it at some point in time.
Yeah. The first
but that journey is really hard, Shan. Like I'm sort of not articulating how hard it is to deliver an exceptional product, to still have to build offline sales, to still communicate, and to still be very, very controlled with money, because we raise a lot of money. Like unlike most...
How much did you raise through your journey?
So up until the time that we did the strategy...
So 75 lakhs was the Kawal and the gang.
Yeah.
The Indian gang.
Yeah. And then another... So I'll tell you the total. I'll come to the... So we raised about 70 crores of cash, out of which we set up a state-of-the-art facility for 20 crores.
Okay.
So we've used about 50 crores to create this company.
Wow.
And now we've done the strategic partnership where we'll, use the benefit of distribution, etc. So when you say temptation, there's temptation to do so many things.
Yeah.
There is temptation to launch chocolates. There's temptation to launch chips. There's temptation to, go offline distribution and like just spread the market. There's temptation, so many different things. So you have to stay true to who you are and where you stand. So you have to make calculated decisions with respect to money. You have to make calculated decisions with respect to what the brand should do and not do. You have to make calculated decisions for everything.
Yeah, but they're hard. They're so
hard.
I cannot imagine.
Because entrepreneurs inherently are so competitive. I want to be the best food brand, and I'll do anything that I need to do to get there, right? Like, so everyone's inherently that competitive. So you also want to make sure, and like the metrics for VCs is none of them have really sold a brand or created a brand themselves. So the temptation is always revenue first. Loss kuch bhi karo, like just do revenues, or take more money if you need to take more money. But as entrepreneurs and in mind, like, when we sold to ITC, we still controlled the company. We were 50% shareholders. So for me, like everything is a balance. How much of and only when you have that kind of control structure can you kind of define what the brand will do and not do and all of that, right? So
so you're talking about two things, right? One is the balance of what you sell to your consumers under the brand Yoga Bar, which is we want to be a clean eating, healthy company in this category, which means we will not put more than X sugar, we will not put more than X maida, etc. And those guardrails are very well defined upfront. The second thing you're saying is we will not go into other categories until we feel that we have the right to do it. So I know you entered in the cereal space, but I think it was very thoughtfully done.
Yeah.
At the right time.
Shantanu, we were the only company that did bars for 6 years. 2 years before we incorporated the company, and 4 years after that. So 2020 was our first launch outside of bars because we first wanted to perfect the bars. And the muesli has been in the works for almost 2 years. We've tested the market from 2018. We formally launched 2020 end. And it's not like entrepreneurs sitting here, don't know the cycle, launch karo. It's very easy to get the first set of sales. Repeat sales is what matters. Not getting returns from your distributors is what matters. Stable sales, that's the concept.
Okay.
Like, what is your net stable sales? If you didn't market, how much of all of these products would sell and how much would consumers come back and, keep buying? So in food, you have to get every single product category right. So we've taken really crazy amount of time to kind of perfect the perfect product for each category. I can hands down say today, like, we probably have the best muesli in the market. We have the best bars in the market. We have, when we did our oats, 0 emulsifiers, 3 times the vegetables, no salt. If you're selling a heart-healthy product, you better watch the salt.
Yeah.
And we were very conscious about the way we created each single category. And even though we have the best products in each category, I would still say sales is hard. It's a very difficult job.
Was it hard because, and which is what you said before, which is at some point, when you reduce, all of these things are put in by large companies or by brands because they make the taste so much better, right? At some point, did you feel, especially in products like bars, which people, I think most people in India will kind of confuse a bar use case to a chocolate use case. And then that's the bar of taste for some reason, right?
You'll never cross.
And you'll never meet it. You're doing solving something different there, but because of the form factor, it's like in a plastic or as a
study, you'll see that India's energy bar is actually Snickers.
Yeah.
You're right about that.
And Snickers also, I think, markets itself as...
Yeah, because they put the peanuts and they put the almonds and they put like Hungry Kya. Like, if you are doing it as a meal replacement, chocolates as a category is not a meal replacement, it's an indulgence. Yeah. But Snickers occupies that classic position as a meal replacement. But you have to fight against all of these things. And also, Shantanu, the classic choice of not raising too much money. Yeah. We always had the choice to raise it. But I felt like, and I've seen this happen in food, I haven't seen it happen in personal care. The accountant in me spends copious amounts of time with financial statements. So our financial statements read like a beautiful story. I've read everybody's financials. And in food, actually having excess money is the downfall of a brand. If you have excess money, you don't rectify the things that are not working. Because you have to remember, the investor's job is to completely ensure that the valuation is increasing. And as a food company, unlike a personal care company, your repeats, you can only have great food companies if your repeat rates are really, really high.
Yeah.
Even if you think about an Ashirwad Atta, you think about a Dark Fantasy biscuit, or you think about Parle, or you think about Cadbury's, or you think about Dabur Chyawanprash, or you think about their honey. They are all, food is a market where you need to take category. And you can't be doing like 200 different things and expect that you will keep showing sales by entering new categories. Send the first lot to your distributors, raise the next amount of money, then rectify your problems, then raise the next amount of money. It doesn't work like that in food. You don't have that much of time because food is perishable.
Yeah.
And especially healthy food, that's the other problem. Our food lasts for 4 to 6 months. So within that time frame, you have to make sure that the market, someone's consuming, it's very small. So food's really hard.
Wow. And did you ever, were you tempted to...
You do personal care?
No, not personal care, but... Were you tempted to increase your life by doing things that were against your principles or in the grey area?
No, Shantanu. I think that if I'm not feeding my family, if you stick to some broad principles, for me, like, at the end of the day, you have to, sleeping with a clear conscience is equally important. It's more important, in fact. So I don't want to do things that at the end of the day, I feel like, it just doesn't feel right. Some things just don't feel right. And that's valuable. It's valuable to feel like you did the right thing,
But tell me a little bit about how, I want to kind of go deeper in the business, right? So you expanded from how many SKUs of bars? Did you have different sizes and different flavors? When you started?
When we started also, we had the 40 rupees bar. So we just launched the snack bar.
Okay.
We launched this one. And after that, we launched the breakfast bar after 2 years, which was a 50 rupees bar.
Okay.
But then we also realized that the category was completely protein bar consumers and people used to use it for a workout. So we launched like the cleanest 20-gram protein bar because at that point in time, we had only one other competitor, which was a very different kind of product.
Which
so Right Bite was,
Right Bite, correct.
Yeah. And that was a heavily gym audience kind of bar. And we realized that the category was also there and you can't ignore those consumers. So how can you make a clean 20-gram
Protein bar. So protein bar and two like
breakfast bars and snack bars. And the breakfast bar was made on the premise that, listen, if you can get a healthy breakfast at home, go ahead and eat it. Like if you're getting like nice home cooked food. But there are enough of us who, because you have the morning meeting or like you need to rush out or whatever, this is the next best thing. It's the healthiest packaged breakfast that you will get. If you're getting fresh food, eat your fresh food.
But one bar is enough? Like
8 grams of protein, 7 grams of fiber. Just whole grain. It's like, think about it like taking a lot of grains and nuts and seeds and just compressing it into a bar. That's all.
And
it's very minimally processed, by the way. So
was it only online to start with, or did you guys do?
Actually, we were only an offline company.
Okay.
So entirely offline company, 100% offline.
Okay.
And then we decided, and then we just raised a round from Elevation.
When was this?
We raised from Elevation just pre-COVID,
2019. Okay.
And then our head of e-commerce decides to go and join Kellogg's. And I'm sitting at home, and then finally my husband comes and rescues me. He's like, Aditya had just sold his company to Practo a few years ago. And then he was like, listen, this is important to you. I'll do it. So he came in as a co-founder. And the online thing just took off because I feel like
COVID, right?
Yeah, COVID and also the impression. Somebody who thinks digital first and thinks online first and is a tech guy brings a whole different way of thinking. It's a completely different way of thinking. So he kind of like pieced together everything with respect to online, created a proper brand book. So everything's documented, very process driven. So, like we also work, literally everything's now like very project driven. So all of that, I think, and then it became my sister, me and Aditya working together to kind of like, and then post-COVID, once COVID settled down, then things have been really good.
Understood. So when before COVID hit, or before Aditya joined, what was your online-offline split?
We didn't have online. Online was at 10%, offline was 90%.
Oh, 90 offline, 10 online, is it? How did you build out the distribution?
For offline?
Yeah.
So we still restricted ourselves to only 4,000 stores. And largely, I used to go sit in front of the retailers' offices in Bombay. Yeah. I know every retailer. Like even today, when anybody from my team goes, they're like, yeah, we met Suhasini. So all those 4,000 stores, like handpicking, doing the route plan, doing everything. And that's what I mean from point 0 to 2020, 2015 to 2020. We knew each and every store. Like I knew exactly how much my categories sales was, how much was yoga bar sales, what was my market share in each of those stores.
What kind of stores were these? All over India?
Yeah, all over India. About like 20, largely concentrated, 90% it was in 8 cities.
Okay. And like were these like the Rainlays of the world?
No, like even the Namdaris of the world or the MK Retails or like the standalone supermarkets were also there.
Okay. But did you ever go to the standard distribution to Kirana, all of that?
We used distributors to facilitate the sales, but the sales stores were all selected by us.
But you didn't go to like the
wholesale
neighborhood? No, the neighborhood Kirana store, for example. No. Why not?
Because it's expensive. You have to have a lot of... the way offline distribution works is you either have to take a call to invest 40-50 crores, create your entire route plan and feet on street and, mark everybody. And then you don't do 5,000 stores. Then you do 40,000 stores.
Correct.
To recover that cost, you need 40,000 stores. But was Yoga Bar as a brand, as a category there? It takes a lot of humility to accept that, listen, I might think I'm really great, but let's be honest, it's more likely that these 6,000 stores, the consumers going there will know me. That was the right call for the business. Yeah, but we also in food, the other thing, Shantanu, is you can't do D2C. With a 40% gross margin product, D2C is negative contribution on day 0 and will always be negative contribution. No. D2C only works when you have gross margin of 70+%. So selling D2C for a food brand, you will never be able, you will bleed money.
Unless your AOV is like massively high.
Which is kind of
like 2,000.
Knowing the Indian consumer, they're not going to be buying that kind of.
Like Ferrero Rocher, I can imagine if they have like a global Ferrero Rocher kind of a sort. I can imagine. I'm not sure. I agree with you.
Yeah, you know that Japanese Nama chocolates, right?
No, I don't know.
Oh, no, they're delicious. Like Nama chocolates are really delicious. 2,000 rupees for a box. And
What do you
people who
think?
buy it will always buy it because they have this very sweet spot of saying 90 calorie pieces, like 90 calories per piece. And once you've eaten one piece of it, like you've felt like you've eaten the most indulgent, beautiful dessert ever.
What do you say?
Yeah. So Nama, yeah,
How do I spell the NAM?
NAMA.
Okay.
Even they find it unprofitable to do D2C sales
Because?
because you have to send it chiller packs, frozen, and all of that. So food is really hard. Like having a standalone D2C store for food,
Yeah, makes...
I mean, is a VC's hallucination. Literally. Like it doesn't exist. It cannot exist.
You said 2018 you decided that, okay, we need to go beyond bars.
Yeah.
But we'll do bars till 2020. And 2020 is when the formulation for the muesli became...
We did it from 2018. So 2 years into the formulation, we were like 2020, we have the right product. We
One product or were there again multiple kinds of
two,
flavors?
just the dark chocolate and the fruit and nut.
Okay.
And the no sugar muesli. No sugar means no, like zero sugar, which means a person with diabetes can actually have it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No sugar means no sugar, no dates, no nothing. Zero sugar means zero sugar. Zero added sugar, zero total sugar.
Wow.
So we launched these 3 products and all the 3 did really well. Like that product, the repeat rate, we knew we had a winner. Like the minute we saw repeat rates were 75%, we knew that product would really scale. And then with the peanut butter, the product was very well accepted. The form factor, because I felt like there was an error in judgment. We were overconfident about our design.
Okay.
I felt like we should have... It's not an easy problem to solve, especially when you run the factories yourself.
Correct.
Because all the factory lines and all of that was designed by us. So hardcore, right? Done by people with no background on food.
Wow.
We run everything ourselves. Like, so when I was telling you we raised 80 crores, 20 crores went towards building out a facility as well.
Didn't you hire experts in the food space?
I mean, no.
What?
Short answer, you can get experts for some part of it. Like somebody can look at your facility and say the drains need to be done here, but you will realize that the experts cost is like 150 crores in state-of-the-art facilities, what they'll give you. You don't have that kind of money. You have to figure out, everybody will tell you buy the most expensive German machine. Because those experts are used to dealing with MNCs who have those kind of capital budgets.
Correct.
With companies like us, you have to make sure it's automated and you have to make sure it's run. So we should literally design the lines. Like there was a time when we spent 1.5 months in Coimbatore because we got a chicky guy to actually kind of design the entire bar line, make modification and run the line on all of that.
And coming back to, I think, our earlier point, you're right. Building food is hard. And maybe you said you could have spent time building a personal care company. Honestly, completely agree with you. I think it's sort of draw corollary to what we did at Bombay Shaving Company. And you asked me this question before. Am I happy with the way things turned out?
Yeah.
Yes. For the most part, yes. But we made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
We made a lot of mistakes, right? So I don't think we realized quite as early as we should that premium shaving was just a small market.
It's category sizing pretty much.
It was a small market. Like
Yeah.
we just believed the market is big because we felt we defined the market. We
Yeah.
never defined the market.
Yeah, you can't. You can't. Either you should be standing for 100 years to define the market, then you can take that position,
Yeah.
or you must have put in shitload of money, or you have to be brilliant like Apple. They're the only 3 ways you can actually do it.
Our investors, we have a company called Reckitt Benckiser. Who are our investors,
Yeah, right. Racket.
right? The Durex.
The Racket.
The Reckitt, right? Very unique approach to building the market. And Addy, who was on the episode, said that even when I met Rakesh Kapoor, their global former CEO, he said, why aren't you launching shaving gels? So the market is small. Indian consumer wants shaving cream or shaving foam. They don't want gel. बोलता है तो फोम में क्यों लड़ रहे हो तुम जिलेट और निविया और वीजाम के साथ? जेल में जाओ और नंबर 1 प्लेयर बनो. छोटा मार्केट तो क्या हुआ? 20 साल में तो बड़ा मार्केट होगा ना.
Yeah.
So would you rather be a 50% market share in a big market in 20 years
Yeah.
or a 10% market share in a large market today, bleeding money? So I said, it's a good question. I just don't know how to answer it. Because if the market is small today, then I don't have the confidence to play in it. See, the idea of the topic is sorry of Harpic. So toilet cleaning in India used to be an acid and phenyl game. Okay. Pre-91, 92. Reckitt said, कि cleaning your toilets needs to be like Harpic has to come in. They had a great formulation. And their point of view was the need is clear. We'll get the price right. That we are confident we're a large company, we'll get the price right. But let's elevate the price. Because the moment we launch something like Harpic and do a lot of marketing around it, 5 competitors will come in and they'll anchor around our price. If they anchor around our price, then all of us will have a large profit pool. So this premium market, छोटा जहाँ पे हम market बना सके, उस पे भी price high करो. Both counterintuitive moves by. But then they said, this is a 30-year game.
You have to play the long game.
Twice a month, at 8 in the evening when everyone's having dinner, we will show toilet cleaning on television ads for the next 30 years.
Wow.
And today Harpic is what Harpic is. And I'm like, I wish I had the courage to do that with shaving gels. I just don't.
But that's it, Shantanu. Like for consumer, how can you, like, if you really had to summarize it, how can you be that habit at home? And do you have that patience to play the game until you're that habit at home? That's really it. Like if you're not a habit, you can't do a consumer play. You just can't. Your products have to stand for something that consumers think about you. And I used to have this, like, I want to be in a place where people, when they go and ask for an energy bar, they say, can I have a yoga bar even if it's another brand? That used to happen in Bombay. Like, because we were so early on, even if people wanted to pick a competitor, they would be like, can I have a yoga bar? Because yoga bar became synonymous with a natural energy bar. And you would that's when you feel like you can play that long, 20 saal mein to hoga. It's not, people think that in the US, health food has just taken off. Cliff Bars is a 40-year story. Kind Bars, the guy has been doing it from the 1990s. And everybody had that hockey stick growth at one point because they were able to fix something, So
and something happened. Like there's a 8 to 12 quarter period where things kind of switch for categories.
Right? But you absolutely have to play the long game.
Did you ever think that do you think selling at this, because you're right, this is a 100-year journey. You guys were 7-8 years old. So it's a long time for you guys to put in. But did you ever feel कि नहीं यार इसको नहीं करते हैं, खुद बनाएंगे थोड़ी देर और 10-20 साल तक चल रहा है? Especially given what we spoke about, right? You're the kind of founder who doesn't, you're a frugal founder. Don't have a lot of requirements in life and so on.
Shantanu, I'll answer that question too. Is that decision actually can't be made after you take somebody's money. It has to be made before you take somebody's money. Today, when I do my next venture, I probably will not take any money from anybody because I know it will be the long game. I will do it at my pace. I will do what's right for the consumer at every point of time.
And now you can finance it without...
And now you can finance it, right? I came from a background where my student loans were still sitting. I used to take a bus to Majestic to find out the price of raw material and ingredients. And my mother used to be like, all your friends, have settled down. Like they have like a house, they have a car, and look at you. She didn't mean it in a bad way. She was just saying like, but you're not in a place where you can fund a business. Not that she was completely appreciative of my choices. She was even clean wrapping the path. But I'm saying, you cannot make the choice after you take somebody's money. Because when you've taken that money, you know that it's an 8-year journey for them. So it's impossible to actually at that point of time decide that, I'm going to do this lifelong and, we'll see where it goes. I also think I got the right partner. I'll be very honest. And I've said this to ITC multiple times, you always feel like a little bit jitter. Will they take care of it? I felt like because ITC is the kind of company that has built brands from scratch and they were very late in the journey, there are a dozen entrepreneurs and they know the playbook of how to take a really good product and create it into a really large company. And I feel like it's just gone into the right hands. Like I feel like I was telling you, right? Like 100 years later, it'll probably be one of their largest brands in their portfolio, which means that the brand is going to stay for 500 years, long after my time. So, and beyond a point, Shantanu, and we all know this as entrepreneurs, right? Money is a way to keep score for a short period of time. Legacy matters. And I'll say that my brand's going to last very, very long. And that's a very good place to be.
He's also done very well with food.
Very well with food. And it's just Atta, Dark Fantasy.
Sunfeast.
Mad
Bingo.
Yippee.
They've done very well with food.
So, and breakfast is not there in their portfolio. And they love the brand. They just love the brand. So I feel like I mean, inherently, there are also people who are quite very relationship driven, you know, like I felt like very Indian in the way they approach things, very, I don't know, I just felt like it found its right home.
Were they quick? I always felt Calcutta
quick.
based and, you know, kind of want them.
Very aggressive. And like, I feel like I come there and I'm like, I thought like people who work in corporates like have it easy. I'm like, these guys calling me every Sunday. Literally, I'm like, Sunday to de do. Like, literally, right? Like, they are on their job. Like, for them, as a unit, and this shocks me about such a large conglomerate. And I've said this to a couple of people I've met over there, you know, like, I feel like you'll prioritize the company even more than you prioritize your own family.
Yeah.
And how do you develop a culture where people put the company before everything else? Like, how does that happen? Like, I can't do that with Yoga Bar. Like, if my daughter needs me, she needs me, you know, like, I won't put my family, but I see like in ITC, and these are dozens of people I've met, like they're so company first. And it's spectacular for a company of that size to create a culture where people feel they are so indebted to an organization. I think I think it's beautiful, actually.
Did the tobacco overhang make you skeptical given you're a health business?
So my husband, like Aditya put it really nicely, he's like, you are taking a lot of this money to do good for people, and that's how you should think about it. And of course, they have surplus cash sitting because of tobacco. And this is the right way to channel that money. You'd rather have this money going into improving health, right? So, I mean, did it cross my mind? The honest answer is yes. But it's okay because they're using that money to do something much better. And I feel like ITC also, I think they internally also go a little bit, you know, do a little bit more with CSR and all that just because of the tobacco overhang, right? Like, that's the legacy of the company. There's nothing that you can do about history. What you do with the future is what counts. You can't write off what has been, but you can shape what is going to be. And that's how you kind of
make a decision. ITC as a group, but look at the quality they have in, for example, their hotels.
Yeah.
It's outstanding.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
And how do you run such different businesses and run it all so well, you know, with that level of aggression?
Completely. I know this guy called PL Rajesh.
Yeah.
We worked together on a bunch of things.
He used to talk to a PE fund. Like, he's the mentor for a PE fund.
Correct. Advent.
So
he and I work together on Advent. So I work on with Advent like 1 or 2 days a month.
Got it.
On their consumer stuff. So that's where we've interacted. Again, just such a hardcore guy. Like, such a hardcore guy.
You will always find an ITCN, so to speak with such passion about ITC.
Yeah.
Now, I can understand a founder and like founder's initial team having that kind of conviction, but multiply that into like 70,000 employee organization feeling so strongly about something. I mean, it's remarkable.
It's an amazing finishing school. It's one of the best recruiters at IITs, at IIMs, like, and people who join as 21, 22-year-olds go to factories, they have supply chain stints, they have marketing stints, and then they just stay. Like, people at ITC just don't leave, they just stay.
Like, honestly, Shantanu, like, after I've met people there, we hired our head of operations ex-ITC. Our CBO, we said we want somebody from ITC to move there. Like, honestly, I'm thinking like the next company I do, I should ask people over there who wants to do it with me. I can't say this on record, but yeah, literally, right? Like, because they are just so well groomed, and as a culture, they really work hard.
No, for sure.
You know, so.
For sure. Let's come back to your journey, Suhasini, in terms of people, right? So it's very clear that you started something in a category which was limiting on gross margin, clearly a repeat. So product development cycles were longer. Distribution was difficult because of shelf life issues. So mostly offline, in which case you have to be very clear about returns. So limited. Also, AOV was smaller. I'm assuming your AOVs would have been $100.
Yeah, I mean,
between $50 to $100.
Yeah,
I'm assuming.
yeah.
Which is small AOVs.
Except for muesli, which is much.
But if you like kind of average out a purchase of yoga bar, $200, right? So it's still very low. So you have to acquire a lot of customers to get the same amount of revenue. How was it in terms of how you and Anandita kind of split responsibilities, your relationship with each other? I think when family members, whether it's husband, wife, or close friends, or siblings, or parent, child, running a company is...
It's hard business. It's hard business. when you do it with family members, it's really hard. And
Why?
you have to understand that even Aditya was there, right? So there is Aditya.
Like towards COVID, right?
Yeah, he came towards COVID, but still, like, the journey for him has also been 5 years, and it's the most aggressive part of the journey.
Correct.
Because it's literally Elevation's money came in, which was when the company, till that point in time, it only raised 10 crores of capital. So any outcome would have been great for your early set of investors, right? But once you take like 60 crores of serious capital into the business, that at that point in time, the business has to deliver. You know? So in a lot of ways, I think, and even ITC views it like the founder group is all the three of us, like as family members, and it's really hard because you also have to balance what's right for each of y'all, even in your personal relationship. So I think that balance, the honest answer is people who want to optimize should actually not do business with family members. While the trust factor is very, very high and you will always know that you always have each other's back, on a day-to-day business, arguing with the people that you love the most, even if it's for business, is not the best for...
It's exhausting, no?
It's exhausting. It's exhausting because a fight's not... Or a disagreement, we don't really fight. Like, we're not people who raise our voices and we don't do that. We have disagreements, but we have active disagreements, right? You feel bad about it. You don't want to hurt somebody you love. It's just that. So,
Yeah.
And I think managing that is really hard. It's really...
How do you guys do it? Like, well, you must have been tricky because you had a husband and a sister.
Right?
Did they get along very well?
I mean, everyone gets along to the well is relative. I don't know what the benchmark of well is, but as sisters, we are very close. As husband and wife, you're also very close. So, and then there are certain, but you have to understand that I'm at the center. The closer relationship sits here, right?
Yeah, you're the fulcrum of this. Right?
But I'm good at navigating. Like, I feel like I'm very good at communicating very logically and in a very fair manner. But it's still exhausting. I'm saying, would I make the choice to do it in the future? Maybe not.
Yeah?
Yeah, because it's really hard. It adds another dimension of something that you need to take care of. So from a point of view, but from a trust factor perspective, it's bang on. Like, you don't have to worry at all. And that, I think, is pretty important from a founder perspective, you know.
Has it got you guys closer?
Yeah, I would say that. I think sisters in general also end up being closer. And husband and wife, of course, Aditya and me have so much in common. And we're very, and he's aggressive. So I've learned, for me, like, Aditya is more like a mentor. Like, I've learned a whole new different way of doing business after he's here. And I feel like for my next gig, I know exactly how, like, I would say he's pushed me towards being a very ambitious person. And that's the thing, Shantanu. All the men in my life have actually really pushed me to be the best version, like pushed me and nudged me to be a bit more. And as sisters in general, you're very close. Like, between the three of us, we exchange WhatsApp messages 10 times a day. It's more than brothers would do. So while brothers have like a certain amount of distance in the way they kind of like deal with each other, even in terms of communicating, sisters like Zara dresses, like you'll send each other 5 different clothes from Zara and say, do you want it? Or you will talk about something, right? You talk about your kids, you would talk about so many different things. So I would feel like sisters just, you're in each other's life all the time. So I would say, like, those two relationships, I feel like I report to Aditya though. Like, I feel like he's taken over this role where he just drives the organization towards a certain outcome. And I think he does a really good job of that. And with Ani and me, I feel like our roles and our skills are so complementary. Like, that's
how do you divide the skills?
So Ani's done a lot of the product and technical aspects of the business, like whether it's factory setup or whether it's like very, like product driven. And I would do all the finance stuff. I would do all the fundraising. I would do a bit of the marketing. So all the sales job of where I need to convince a retailer or I need to kind of like do meetings with online retailers and the buyers and all of that, I would take that portion of the job.
Did you guys ever step on each other's shoes?
No, I think that we didn't have a problem. Like, I think the trust between the three of us was quite good. Like, we absolutely trusted each other's roles. We have a point of view on some things that can be done differently and we would voice it. But nobody took each other's role. Like, those were very well demarcated. It also was area of comfort. Like, I would say that was naturally her area of comfort. This is naturally my area of comfort. That is naturally Aditya's area of comfort.
And how do you manage But I think, how was it from elevation side, from on the board, or would
Very good, yeah. Like I would say from
Deepak was Deepak?
Deepak,
Lovely guy, no?
very. Like I remember I told Deepak, I'm like, I think you need to be a bit more flashy. Like I just feel like, why don't you just show off a little bit, like you just stand like so different from all the other investors, like, but he's also extremely humble. Like actually the thing that he reminds me a lot about he's not as old as my father, but there's a certain quality that's quite similar. I would say they treat people very equally. Like I don't think Deepak would treat two individuals differently. And that's remarkable. I don't find so many people in that community treating people equally. And I'm not saying entrepreneur to entrepreneur. I'm saying right from the person who drives your car to the person who serves you tea to the entrepreneur to your family or anybody. He treats people equally. And I think that's quite remarkable.
He's a very respected.
Yeah. And he doesn't say anything. Like, not a peak speak. Like, he doesn't sing his own praise or doesn't do anything. Like,
yeah.
And he was very understanding. When I told him, I'm like, Deepak, I think this is kind of like the right time. And for him, Yoga Bar was doing really well, right? Like at that point of time. And he's like, you should
How big was it?
About 100 crores.
Around, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean, when Elevation put it in, I think we were at about 50, I think.
50 crores.
50, yeah.
And you doubled the business and then you said, okay, fine,
Yeah.
now we need to find a home for the business.
Yeah. But he was very understanding about it and all of that. And Kanan was from Fireside, and Kanan and me share a remarkable relationship. Like, I feel like he's sort of like been the mentor and guide. I think the outcome with ITC was heavily done by him, like all the heavy lifting. And I think one remarkable thing, and this will always stay in my life, like I feel like there was this one point where I felt uncomfortable with something in the negotiation. And I picked up the phone and I called him and I said, you stand to lose here, but I feel like I'm uncomfortable doing this, but you will really stand to lose if I decide to not do it. And he said, Suhasini, but I still need to advise you to do what is right for you and go ahead and refuse. No problem. Like, go ahead and...
Can you give me an example of what this was?
It was a certain negotiation where there's a certain liability clause that I need to take on myself, like unlimited liability on myself. And I felt like I was being a bit uncomfortable on that. And I can understand from the buyer standpoint, because they are letting the promoters wholly run the business, that it was right for them to ask it. And I turned to Kanan and I said, I don't know if this is standard or norm, but I'm finding this a bit uncomfortable. And I feel like the deal might not go through if I don't accept this clause. And Kanan was like, if you find it's not okay and you feel uncomfortable, we'll back you. Like, don't worry about it. And I said, but you stand to lose. And at that point of time, like ITC was the deal that we really wanted to close. And he's like, at the end of the day, Suhasini, like our relationship is very long. It's not about one deal, or I also know you as a person and I want you to win. And I think that's remarkable. I feel like it would be a handful of people who would actually put your outcome over their own outcome. And he did that for me that day. And I will remember it all my life.
That's amazing. He used to be on our board while Fireside was an investor in a publishing company. And I think Kanan was always had a keen eye on interests, in the sense, how do we balance interests? How do we be fair?
Yeah.
He always wanted us to grow a lot faster than we were growing.
Yeah.
Because he used to come to Delhi, go to a Mama Earth board meeting, and come to our board meeting, and he would be like, Mama Earth is doing this, Mama.
Yeah, he did that. I mean, but that's...
Kanan, don't compare, please. It really is, don't. He's like, no, please, you should learn from those guys. You know what? To be honest.
Yeah, I'm going to say the same thing. I want to say it like with you. I wish I listened to him more, right? Like, I
fully agree.
If you ask me what I would do differently now, and I feel like he did that to nudge me. And I feel like, yes, I wish I'd listened to him more, because he told us about the gross margins as well. He said, Suhasini, there's any like quick way by which you can do these small hacks, figure out a way to improve the gross margin. And I feel like, damn it, I should have listened to him. I feel, there are so many points where I felt at the time when he was telling me, I'm like, he's just finding fault and he's nitpicking. But he was just, that was absolutely the right advice. Absolutely the right advice.
I remember I was just in the board meeting and I would be like, they're not, but like I told you before, like, I'm envious of Varun. Like, building 1,000 crore business in the same amount of time with that kind of success and that kind of profile in terms of margin is incredible. And somehow we had a window into his business. Of course, Varun and I used to talk also, but Kanan would tell us exactly what we should have been doing.
Yeah. Okay.
We listened to some of it, We did listen to a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I always felt like, that, okay, we probably, there'll be a right time for this.
Yeah.
But today, I think you're right. I think I sit back and I think that what he was telling was probably right.
No, but it's great that, Shantanu, you can even say that you are in VS. Like, I feel like most entrepreneurs would, and I said this to, so I was taking this flight once and there was another entrepreneur who was in that flight, right? And I was like, I really don't want to sit next to you. And he's like, why? I'm like, I don't make friends with entrepreneurs. And he's like, why? I'm like, nobody is bloody honest. Like, if you're sitting next to me, you're going to go on about how great your business is and how great your valuation is. And I want to hear none of it, Like, I feel like if you can have an honest conversation and tell me what's shitting with your business, I'll sit with you and I'll talk to you. But I'm going to hear none of it. I'm going to hear about how great you're doing. And I don't know how much of that is really honest.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that you are at least able to openly admit. I'm envious of Varun too. I think he has it all.
Hai?
Yeah, literally.
Badiya aadmi yaar. Like, I always try to look for faults in the guy. Here in Italy, like, Mahamad ne kiya, Mahamad.
I feel like process, execution,
What?
right calls, made a very simple business very beautiful. He's done everything right. Like, everything right.
A lot of time, I'll tell you what. So,
And he's super helpful, by the way, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even his close friend or anything. And I'm like the kind of person who keeps it. I mean, I'm usually good with relationships, but with him, I feel like he's so not accessible.
Yeah.
But I would ping him every once in a while when I needed something. And his responses would come in 5 minutes. Like, he would always reply and he would be so prompt and he would always help, So
yeah.
I find like,
Stand-up human being, yeah. Like, every time I've always and the entrepreneurs are competitive. I've always felt that he got lucky with some of his strategic calls in terms of channel choices, in terms of product launches, in terms of category choices, brand name, etc. And then at some point during COVID, I realized this is not luck, man. This much luck is skill.
Yeah, this much luck is skill. Yeah. Luck seldom explains a lot.
We can look at Mamaearth independently, right? Just such a fabulous business.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the brand is very clear. Now, abhi to main kya karta hu? When I go to someone's house, it could be a relative, a guest, whatever.
See how many products.
Bathroom mein jaake I will see. And there's always a Mamaearth shampoo or a,
Like my kid uses this toothpaste as well. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, I think they've done a phenomenal job. We do have some of their, alumni from Mamaearth. You can see. Like, there are companies like Oyo, for example, where you know that the alumni will just, kind of work their socks off.
Yeah.
Mamaearth will be very process-oriented.
Very process-oriented.
Very process. They know exactly, email will come, calendar invites are clear, they have agendas for meetings on time. So, you can see through them what Varun and Ghazal have kind of done as an organization. So, you're right. I think Karan is one of the, I think
But he was just nudging, like even now, he would tell me, he's like, make program management like a job, like the 5 things you want to achieve, make a, like, and then I think it's coming from his experience with dealing with Mamaearth.
Yeah.
And it's the right advice. It's absolutely the right advice.
For sure. He's also been an operator for such a long
Yeah.
time. It's amazing, right? To have Kanan, who's an operator for such a long time. In companies like Dabur, for example,
Yeah.
Unilever, like I think it was in Ponds, then Dabur. Amazing. Like Dabur is such a good example of an Indian-born company which has done so well.
Yeah.
Dabur, Britannia, Parle, Marico.
Yeah.
In my mind, and ITC, of course, ITC, of course, is a different game, but these 4 solid people in general. And Deepak is just like a world-class VC.
He's just a very good human being. Honestly, Shantanu, like, people talk a lot about world-class VCs, and I've seen a lot of them, and I feel like I've interacted with some of them. Like, I remember the same guy who told me that at the size at which we were at, and we were already at about like 50 crores of business, told me you're too small and category will not work, went and invested in a competitor 1/10 our size at 10x our valuation, and they are world-class VCs, and made this folly multiple times in the same category, but will continue to do it. Who cares if somebody is a world-class VC? What I care about is a person sitting at that table, respects me as an individual, will do the right thing by me and is a decent human being. And the fact that he is great at his job is good for the people who invested money with him. I, as an entrepreneur, expect respect, decency, intelligence in my board. And so long as a person is doing all of that.
That's amazing. That's a very interesting point of view, which is I don't care what your portfolio looks like. How are you in my company is what I completely agree. I completely agree. When the sale happened and you told Deepak and Kanan and between you, Anandita and Aditya, you guys decided that, okay, it's the right time for the company. Did you run a formal process with the banker and so on?
Yeah, we did. I mean, you always have to optimize for the outcome that you are gunning towards. And in a strategic process, you should always run a formal process. And we had like multiple, like we also, even before we ran the process, we didn't naturally think we should run the process. We had so many inbound.
Yeah.
We had 3 people reaching out to us before we even thought about strategic. 3 people wanted to buy out the brand much before it hadn't even crossed our mind. And then we said, maybe we should start thinking in that direction because distribution is not going to be easy to build.
Yeah. And then you chose ITC because of relationship?
Yeah, because they were so aggressive and their deal construct was very attractive. Their deal construct is very, very attractive. It's very, very...
How long did it take for you guys to showcase them to their business? Like, did they do a diligence and then they...
Oh God, they were so thorough, Shantanu. Like, my God. I mean, we've done the process now with 4 people, right? So their process, it's like, there is nothing about my business that they don't know. They had spoken to our distributors, our sales team on the street. Their finance team is thorough. Like, there was not like a 100 rupees round off that would have missed their eye. So they're very, very thorough. So that process lasting and completing a process is a skill, by the way. Like completing a strategic, and this is classic, right? Like in a lot of these entrepreneur groups, like nobody congratulated me. Like people assume that a strategic process is actually a very poor outcome. And the only real outcome that an entrepreneur really likes is an IPO.
Are you serious?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like literally everybody felt like I would probably feel bad and this was not an outcome that I really wanted.
I don't think that's the case.
I mean, I'm telling you what people think. I'm literally telling you that. And I was thinking back, I'm like, when you run a strategic process, you will know how hard it is to complete a process where somebody has placed a fair value on the brand. It is not easy. I can write a book about running a process and all the things that you should do and all the things that you shouldn't do.
Wow.
It's not easy. Because how many exits have actually happened in India? Very few. And IPOs don't deliver unless lots of things have to continuously work. A strategic outcome means at a point in time, at least everybody on the table got the exact same outcome at a very fair price. And therefore, rationally, is actually far better for the entrepreneur.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially if your objective function is legacy. And
especially
capital is a side outcome. That is a great side outcome. But if you keep talking about my great grandchildren will see my brand.
Yeah.
Because ITC will be the custodians of my brand. They'll grow it. Distribution, their food business is someone you trust. They've been thorough. They're aggressive. Breakfast is missing on the portfolio, so they'll plug it in beautifully. I completely agree. I think kudos to you on that. But this was like 6 months, 6 to 12 months?
Oh, dear Lord. The worst 1 year of my life.
Really?
When
did you start the process?
We started in peak when the market crashed. April.
22.
We're in 23 now? Yeah, 22 then.
Okay.
I lost track of time, days, Sundays, Saturdays. Lost track of everything. And there was this throbbing pain in my heart and head that would just never go away.
Why?
Because it's difficult. Because you don't know who's going to drop in the process. You don't know when people have changed their mind. You have to understand that the strategic process runs as a non-binding process for a very long period of time. The diligences are very thorough. You have to answer each and every question to every single counterparty. Yeah. And you are running out of money. And you have to continuously grow your business while running the process. It's not easy. And you need to have your mind and heart when you're negotiating what is going to determine all of your outcomes. You have to get a lot of things right.
When the money was credited to all your shareholders and to you guys, was there like a, or was it the SHA signing? Was there a moment where you felt
when ITC's stock went up by 1,800 crores when they announced the deal, the news and the news even today, like when you see the article, shot up by ITC went to its highest high at the point where they announced the Yoga Bar acquisition. And everybody in the system congratulated the people who were doing the deal. I knew that was when I had a sigh of relief. I was like...
The money had not come in yet.
So for me, Shantanu, technically, the money is like, even the day the money came in, I didn't really celebrate because money for me, I don't know, my relationship with money is a bit different from most other people.
No, that's what people say. Until the money is wired, the deal is not done. Or the crowd is not
going to walk away from a deal where the stock market has, literally said that this is the best deal for them to do. Yeah. So, I mean...
What are the analysts read into the...
They felt like ITC was doing the right things and going with future-ready brands. So I didn't realize till that point then people actually really followed us as a brand. They did believe that this was a great foray for ITC into health food, more premiumization, right brand, doing the right things. The market didn't reward them once. When they announced the binding term sheet and when they finally wired the money, both times they got a bump on their share.
What was the value they gave you guys?
That I can't tell you.
You can't tell? Even their investors don't know?
No, I mean, whatever they've disclosed to the stock exchange is public information.
Okay. Understood. And from people who are interested in see, this is a very rare occasion, right?
Yeah.
Where there is a young company that has been bought over by a large business on, kind of new age consumer brand, right? So our viewers will be kind of intrigued by the details of it.
Yeah.
You built it out for 2015 till 2022. 7 years, right?
Yeah.
7 years of effort. And then one of India's largest conglomerates is buying it. Building a 100 crore brand or in a space like food with a focus like health, where AOVs are small. Dude, I can tell you it is incredibly commendable what you and Anandita and Aditya have done. Yeah. It's incredibly commendable. Like, I don't think people realize how hard the damn thing is.
I think people don't understand how hard it is to do it in the category we did it in.
Yeah.
We with zero background and with very little capital. Yeah. Literally, like we just had capital that was very little, very little capital. Oh. And to run a process is hard, Shantanu. Like, I don't know if people fully, and at some point of time, many people will start experiencing what it means to do a successful M&A transaction. Yeah. Hard work. It's hard work because you have to negotiate and be in your A game every day you go into that meeting because the outcome is so valuable that you can't lose sight. Yeah. It's not one of those things where you were trying to sell your bars to Indigo Airlines and Indigo Airlines refused and you're going back with a refusal. This is everything. Yeah. This is everything that you built up to that point in time. So
no, I agree completely. So I have not experienced it, but having Colgate Palmolive and Reckitt were two large strategics on the cap table as primary investors, and then last round where we did a large secondary, had Malabar, Gulf Islamic, so these are large like hedge funds and large international funds. I kind of can relate to the fact that sometimes large legal teams, thoroughness, answering to a public board on the other side is not easy.
It's really not easy.
It's not easy at all.
And to do it with multiple people on the table, to run the process, to keep the dynamic, to make sure that you've selected the one that's best for you, to negotiate those terms, it's not easy, Yeah, I feel like it's a good life story. I don't know if I answer those questions or are you happy or sad, because I'm usually not happy or sad. I usually feel the same way at most points. But do I feel it's a great life story? It's a great life story. I feel like it's one that I'm going to think back and see that it was time well spent and it was done very well.
A lot of times people say that you're talking about it's very hard, right? And I think the Indian middle class education system pushes us to do hard things because the premise is that the harder the thing you're doing, the larger the reward at the end.
Yeah.
Right? कि कठिन चीज करो और मेहनत का फल मीठा all of that. And I don't fully have over a period of time started to subscribe to the feeling that may not be the case. That identifying large and easier markets is probably the most important skill that we have as an entrepreneur. So we can max ROI.
Yeah. I think to build a business, you have to marry your skills with the skills it takes to deliver success.
In that category or
the category that you're in. I would say still our intuitive skill, I could not have done what Varun has done. I don't think so. I don't think that today I might be able to do it because now I've seen the way Aditya set up process and I've got that journey. But at the point where we set up yoga bars and we saw it, our skills, we maximized our outcomes for the skills that we had at the point at which we started. Over a period of time to take those deltas, a lot of things have to come together. It's inherently not a skill that you wake up one day and you build. It's not easy.
What is the what's the one thing that you learned about yourself that you did not know before the yoga bar journey which surprised you?
See, I've always known I'm very ambitious, but I felt like I'm actually somebody who doesn't give up.
You realized that during
I realized that. Yeah. And I'm not somebody who actually thinks that, I'm not one of those entrepreneurs who goes around telling people that be resilient and don't give up at the cost of your health and life. I would never tell somebody that. I feel people, the only thing that you should optimize for in life is your own happiness and peace of mind. Nothing is more valuable than that. But I've realized that I as a human being just cannot, I need to take things to completion. At the cost of anything. Even if my health was suffering, whatever. And the logical part of my brain would be like, don't optimize. It's fine. You have these options. And no option on the table is so bad. I still optimize at the cost of my mental health, right? Like, or the cost of my physical health, at the cost of everybody else's health as well. When everybody was okay with the outcome, not only like investors are pressuring me. They're like, it's fine. It's fine. You're doing your best. Everybody can see you're doing your best. But to like, and it's not even like, and like Shantanu, like, whether you believe me or not, it's not like that quantum of money or anything matters to me. It's just that I have to do it. Like, I cannot leave a negotiation or a conversation knowing that I didn't get the best deal on the table and I didn't put in my best effort. It's important to me and I didn't realize how important it was to me.
Yeah?
Yeah. I would think that a logical human being like me who's not very alpha, like I'm not obsessive. Like I like to live life in a certain kind of balance. I love my movies. I love songs. I love all genres of music. I love spending time with my kids. I'm not one of those things that say, people who say like, it's yoga bar and nothing. Yoga bar is my life. It's my baby. No, like I'm quite demarcated that way. Like I feel like we all contain multitude of things, right? So, but still, I obsessed about the right thing for the business, and I was surprised by the way I went at it.
Yeah?
Yeah. I was surprised. I don't know if it's good or bad.
It's a good thing. I think it's a great thing.
I mean, maybe if I had died of a heart attack, my husband wouldn't be saying that.
Were you that close?
No, I wasn't. Like, I don't know. Like, who's measuring, right? Like, who's measuring? But at some point of time, those are conversations that are meaningful to have. Like, it's meaningful to kind of step back and say, like, Anandita, Aditya, the investors, at some point, I'm like, it's fine, like, it's fine. Don't kill yourself over it. But I felt like I'd taken it on like it was some sort of a mission. And
which it was, right?
But I'm not that person, so I'm surprised. I'm the kind of person who's quite logical about life in general. I'm quite... But I feel like my modus, the way I operated, indicated that I'm actually somebody who doesn't settle. It was a surprise.
That's incredible. And is that something you'll hold on to as you move to the next thing, whenever that is?
I mean, and this comes to the second part of your question, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. I hope I don't. I'll say this. I lost a year of my life in pure misery. I don't know I want to be paying that price multiple times in my life.
No. Was it that intense, is it?
Of course. I mean, of course. Of course.
And was it the quantum of work or was it the nature of the...
It's everything, Shantanu. Like, it's... Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, enough number of M&A transactions haven't happened in the space. I don't know. I'm thinking about when Raw Prestige ran they ran a strategic a couple of years ago.
Oh, with Wingreens.
Yeah, but they ran a proper strategic. Wingreens was an outcome because they had common investors. And I think about how Anuj must be thinking about it now, given that in Wingreens' portfolio, Raw has outperformed, right? Like, and I wonder if he had pushed himself a lot more and tried to find or is he exiting and, living this quite peaceful life? Which of the outcomes would he choose? I don't know the answer, actually, Shantanu. Like, I don't know. I think it's a very individual choice. Yeah. There's no right or wrong choice. What is right for you is may not be right for somebody else.
When we ran our Series C, we did have a strategic buyer interest, term sheet from a strategic buyer, which we did take to the board. Was a younger company. Was tempting, but at that time I felt like we had other options. We had a good primary infusion that was possible, and we went with that. But I can imagine an M&A transaction being tedious.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's also tedious because you also want to hand it over to the right people. You want to make sure that the person on the other side doesn't wipe it off, that it doesn't matter to them. Sure, you'd have made a lot of money, but I don't know. I felt like sitting there today, and I texted the M&A guy. I texted Mayur from ITC, and I told him, like, it just feels right. I don't know how to explain it. It felt like all of that hard work today, it makes sense to have gone through that. But I don't know whether in the future, whether I would still repeat this. I'm not sure.
Is entrepreneurship something you'll continue to do? What do you see now? Of course, you'll run yoga bar and you'll kind of hand it over to the right custodians at ITC.
So for 3 years, it's just going to be eat, breathe, sleep yoga bar because
definitely eat.
yeah, definitely only eat yoga bar. Next 3 years, I don't know, Shantanu. Like, I've begun to think like there are many things that you can do out of life. I feel like as entrepreneurs, I don't know, between you and me, I can tell you, I feel like entrepreneurship is a bit overrated because you also maximize wealth for people who already have it. I would much rather do it. And part of creating legacy is also doing it for, people who don't have the same kind of privilege that I have. I'd like to spend a lot of my, I don't know, I'm beginning to get really fascinated with politics. I'm getting really fascinated with media. I feel like I spend a lot of time watching like Turkish movies and Spanish movies and all of that. And I feel like Indian cinema can create so much impact. Okay, like there is no better way to communicate with people than something as basic as movies. Why don't we take something that powerful to communicate things that propel society forward? Why does Bollywood do such a shit job? I said this 8 years ago on a panel for some women's organization. They said, why do you think that women are so treated so poorly? I said, have you seen Bollywood movies? And I feel like media, I feel there's so much that can be done in the field of education. And I'm not inherently, what will I do with I don't know if I want to be making rich people richer. Yeah.
Talk about all the people who this is damn good, by the way. This is really, really good. Not regretting breaking my diet at all. No, not intermittent. Intermittent I broke with lunch, but the no sugar thing. Like employment creation is noble, right?
It is.
All the people who are working in your factories, in your sales force, and now the extended team at ITC and so on.
But I'll give you an analogy. A doctor working in an ICU center, a doctor working in an ICU, changes the destiny of, and I did the math of people who I think create large impact. Doctors influence about 80,000 people in their lifetime. A teacher influences about 30,000 kids. Entrepreneurs get all the glory. But I feel like there are so many people who make such a large difference in every little thing that they do. And I feel maybe I want to start measuring my life and the outcome that I create and not based on how successful somebody else sees me. I anyway don't care if you like me or you dislike me. It's irrelevant to me. Like I don't want to be anybody anyone looks up to any case, right? Like I don't really value that in my life. Like I don't value that you give me a crown. I just don't. Like lots of people say that I do this because I want my investors to be there. Investors are one set of people. I don't care. Like I have a relationship with you where I hope I return your money and give you a good return, but that's about it. Like I don't care if you think I'm an extraordinary human being. I'd much rather start measuring my life with the impact that I create. And when I do that, I'm not sure that entrepreneurs sit on top of that pyramid. I would like to start thinking about whether I want to be an economist, for instance, whether I go back to studying and kind of influence policy changes, right? Like, there's so many different ways to be meaningful, and I want to make sure that I'm not leading a very I don't want to go through life living a very unidimensional life. I think that's important to me.
Yeah, entrepreneurs, but you're right. I hear today we shot an episode with Mr. J.C. Chaudhary and his son Akash. They were the owners of Akash Education, which is sold to Byju's.
Oh dear. But they got their money?
For $1 billion, yeah. For $1 billion, which is incredible. But such down-to-earth people. And I asked him, how many kids, he's been teaching since 1974. How many kids have you taught till date? He said 40 lakh, give or take. This 74-year-old gentleman blew my mind. He got super emotional he got super emotional in the conversation, probably 5 or 7 times, every time we spoke about a student.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I asked him questions like, for me, like, this is like a storehouse of information, right? Who was the student you're most proud of? Who was the student you remember the most? Every time he spoke about someone, tears in his eyes.
I think education is beautiful, Shantanu. Like, I really think that doing it the right way, and I don't want to do it to make money. There's no joy in that. Like, I would much rather do it but like with most things that are a bit non-profit, you have to make sure it's sustainable. Otherwise, it'll be one small project and one limited number of people, right? So when you're asking me about my next phase, I want to start thinking about what can create. If I have the time, I might as well use it to do things that benefit people.
Incredible. But is the entrepreneurial itch going to be there, right?
I think it'll come very easily. I think the next business, I know exactly, like the playbook for selling, the playbook for creating brand, the playbook for, how you deploy capital. Everything is very, very clear.
And listening to Karan.
Listening to Karan, very important. Always listen to Karan. So it's very, very tempting, but maybe not. Maybe not for me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think, at least where I sit today, I feel like I don't.
And is India the place you want to exercise a lot of this ambition? The social, economics, etc.?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not somebody who inherently believes that there are boundaries and people are people and people are generally alike anywhere in the world. We all hurt the same way. We all love the same way. We all need to treat each other the same way. But of course, there is the comfort of being able to talk to people is, of course, a lot more in India than anywhere else. I have this story. I told somebody that the minute I couldn't negotiate a gym membership in the US, I knew that if I can't negotiate a gym membership, I'm definitely not going to succeed professionally, and I came running back to India.
Really?
Literally, like over here, even with a bank, you can get anything done, right? Like leave a gym, like you talk to somebody nicely, you develop a relationship with them, they go that extra mile, Indians in general, and you've developed that comfort to get those things done, and that's important because especially in things that are you need to have a lot of that hustle. You need to make sure that you're likable inherently, and when people don't, when it's difficult for people to understand you, that likability factor is the next step.
Correct.
It's easy to be likable in India if you just treat people properly. So,
yeah, I agree. No, so I think as we reach the twilight of this conversation, I think this has been fascinating for me to kind of dwell into, and I would love to meet Anandita and Aditya. Maybe we should do like we have now started experimenting with formats a little bit, right? We kind of get in 2-3 founders together, have a conversation which is lesser about the journey, more about the topics.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But thank you for being so candid, honest, and so detailed in your articulation of what you have built, which again I will reiterate is just a phenomenal story of idea to business to execution and growth to exit and then legacy over a decade. So huge congratulations to you and to everyone. Our viewers are like, for me, if even one person watching this after listening to you flips over and says, okay, I want to do something on my own, or in this case maybe pursue something which is purposeful.
Yeah.
I think the Barbershop would have been successful and our time collectively would have been successful today. So any words of caution, wisdom, advice, encouragement, nudging to the people listening to you? Another thing I want before you continue, I'll be very honest with you, right? I have struggled to get women entrepreneurs on this show. And whenever I have had women entrepreneurs on the show, I make it a point to never discuss fundamentally that they're women. For me, like, for example, this conversation was nothing about the fact that you're a woman, you're an entrepreneur, that you happen to be a woman and you happen to grow up in Bangalore and you happen to go study at LBS. I happen to be a guy who studied at IIM Lucknow, who kind of lived in Pune, whatever, right? These are all things about us which we can talk about, but they don't define us. But I do recognize, where especially after conversation with Bhavna, for example, or with Vinita, where it was such an important part of their journeys, especially when it came to fundraising, especially when it came to managing senior men who come from different cultural backgrounds in their factories, for example, right? So there are women watching this show as well, for whom the challenges are, and I'll be very honest, challenges are of the nature that I may not fully understand, but you probably do.
Yeah.
So if you could talk to them as well, while you kind of talk about your words of encouragement, that'll be great.
Yeah. So I'll answer the gender question first, Shantanu. I actually think there is no better time to be a woman entrepreneur.
No.
And I specifically say woman entrepreneur.
Okay.
I would say I'm one of those people who've benefited tremendously from gender. Benefited. Like, I don't think I would have been as successful if I were a man, because people rallied to support me because I was a woman. And this comes right from retailers. I remember the first retailer, Namdaris, who kept my bars in a clean wrapped foil, said, I want to support women entrepreneurs. So there's no better time to use the women card for your advantage. And I'm
That's amazing.
And whatever you need to use to your benefit, use it, because entrepreneurship is all about that. You will have some wins, you will have some losses, and use your wins to the extent that you can. And the women card is by far a very, very great trump card in the India that we're talking about today. So I would actually say, seek out the people who are willing to support the women entrepreneurs, because those people really rally. They really rally their system. And fortunately for me, I can't think of a single instance where it's actually backfired. In fact, I feel like people have been far more respectful, far more, even our early interaction, Shantanu. Like, I remember back in the day when I was fundraising, you're like, and it came up and you said, you girls just, I feel like women in general don't really talk about their successes or how large they have grown, and I feel like I want to support you. And I get that from everybody. Like, everyone's always saying, I want to support you. So I feel like the women thing, there's no better time. I feel like this is the right time. This is, in this India, like, everyone's supporting women. So
that's a very point. Like, I feel really nice hearing that, by the way.
Yeah. I'm also, like, extreme privileged. I like all the men whom I've been around, like my dad, my husband, everybody, right, have all been feminists before they were even men. Like, I remember my dad, when I was born and I was the third kid, and people were saying, I'm sorry, it was a guy. And my dad's like, the third one's also Indira Gandhi. And he said this back in the day, like, which father kind of like, and we've never discussed anything except being really excellent at what you do. Like, where even my elder sister or Annie or me or whatever, we've just excelled. I mean, gender wasn't even a point of view. It's not even a point of view. And today I use gender to take me forward, because I feel we are living in that India today.
Amazing. That's great to hear. You're right. It is a small universe. It may be slightly skewed and a privileged one, but it's amazing, because if that's your experience, I'm hoping that's the experience for
I think
every
for
woman.
fundraising, or I would say, like, even Fireside or like everybody else, they really go out to look for
Women,
invest in women-run businesses, because I think there's never a better time. Like, let me just say that those many words, like, whether it's finding the buyers to support you, finding an investor, finding people to mentor, support, whatever, there's never been a better time.
Yeah.
Words of advice, I don't know. I think you have to be prepared. And I think, like, I say that lightly, but I feel like you have to know. No, actually, let me articulate it. The advice that I would give people is being an entrepreneur, doing the journey. Make sure that your personal relationships rally to make you do things better. It is more likely that a journey gets harder because as entrepreneurs, we tend to be so self-obsessed and so fixated on our own selves that we forget that the ecosystem that is supporting us is also making sacrifices. I think just to be aware that this whole system is rallying against, for you to succeed, that awareness is important, will take you a bit more forward. Because a lot of times you will see that the things that entrepreneurs face the most are actually personal hiccups. Like they're just difficult personal life choices. And the more you are cognizant that you as an entrepreneur also, are making it difficult for your relationship because it's just not available, right? And you compensate it with good behavior, you're going to create an ecosystem that allows you to thrive more at work. I feel like people don't discuss that enough.
I completely agree. I think people, we make entrepreneurship seem so glamorous and fun and massive. But 8 years, it's been 8 years for me as well, right? 7.5, 8 years now, almost. 8 years is a long time.
Yeah.
It's a short amount of time for a company.
Yeah, but it's a
last time for an individual, right?
Yeah.
And people don't realize of those 8 years, 80% of days would not be ideal.
Yeah, it's hard.
20% of days will be the highs. 80% of days are not ideal. And I don't think people are prepared for it when they jump into it, which is why a lot of the companies that started in 2021 when the funding boom was high are today struggling, and a lot of them are shutting down.
Yeah.
So many are shutting down.
Yeah.
Around the time I started doing angel investing, so I was a little scared about that. Boss, I picked the worst time to start putting in angel checks.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah. But the other thing that I would also say is whatever you choose, I do think that a pursuit of excellence gives you a deep sense of satisfaction. I think you should always leave the table feeling like you did the best job that was possible for you to do given your circumstances. And not making it sound like an excuse for whatever the outcome. I'm saying personal satisfaction. I'm not saying anybody else pointing to you. I'm saying a deep sense of self-satisfaction is heavily underrated.
I completely agree. Suhasini, this has been absolutely a pleasure for me. And I really wish you the best. Wish Yoga Bar the best. Wish ITC, Anandita, Aditya, your entire team, Deepak, Kanan, everyone. A big congratulations on everything that you guys achieved and continue to achieve, and hope that personally you continue to be as self-assured and clear about the sensibilities that you kind of bring to the table. I'm glad also that these conversations give me an opportunity to meet people like you and learn from you. And thank you so much for being generous with your time.
No, kind of you, Shantanu, to have me.
And that was really tasty, by
Thank you.
All right.
Wow. Thank you.